to 8 English class, and the chapter that we are going to learn today is planning and organizing writing. Well, begin, you have to log in to aplus.com using your login details, then move to language arts section, select grade 8, and the chapter is planning and organizing writing. The first lesson is determine the main idea. Well, this is about determining the main idea. As you know that we are learning, planning and organizing writing, the main idea of what you are writing is really important. What is the main idea of any text, anything that you write? A main idea is the most important idea or claim that a text communicates. So, what is the main idea? It is the most important idea or claim that a text communicates to the reader. So, authors all around the world they add a main idea in their writings, and what is that? They use it to communicate to the readers. And the details in a text support, prove, or illustrate the main idea. So when you read any text, you sometimes you don't get the main idea immediately. How can you figure it out? How can you determine the main idea? Well, there are certain things that help you do it. The details. The details in a text support that main idea, they prove that main idea, or illustrate that main idea. So, details are important. So, these details, when we read any text and paragraph, so when you read the details, you can figure out the main idea. Let's read one text here. Okay. According to botanists who study and classify plants, a fruit is the part of a plant that contains seeds. By this definition, not only melons and plums, but zucchinis, green beans, and tomatoes are all fruits. In fact, based on this definition, any vegetable with seeds could be classified as a fruit. In contrast, nutritionists who study diet reserve the term fruit only for sweet, fleshy fruits, using vegetable for those that are low in fructose or fruit sugar. Vegetables are usually eaten as part of a meal, while fruits are often eaten as a snack or dessert. Nutritionists argue that although tomatoes may be fruits from a botanical perspective, they aren't even eaten the way typical fruits are, so they are vegetables. Depending on who you ask, a tomato can be considered a fruit, a vegetable, or both. So, what is the main idea of the passage? Well, The main idea is botanists consider all plant parts with seeds to be fruits, but nutritionists consider many of them to be vegetables. So, how did we determine that it is the main idea? Well, we read the details. Look at the details. Well, there are many details that support it, that prove it, and that illustrate this main idea that botanists consider all plant parts with seeds to be fruits, but nutritionists consider many of them to be vegetables. There are many details given here. There are many examples or some many details which prove it, support this main idea. So this is how we determine the main idea of any text. Let's begin the test. Let's read this passage. Human activity and earthquakes. This is the title. When Americans think of earthquakes, they tend to think of California, a state known for its frequent seismic activity. In recent years, however, people in Arkansas, Colorado, Kansas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Texas have been feeling the ground shake more often. An increase in oil and gas drilling in these states has led to human induced earthquakes, those resulting from human activity. When wastewater is disposed of during gas and oil drilling, the water is forced deep underground. The resulting buildup of pressure can cause fault lines to shift. According to Mark Peterson, head of the U.S. Geological Survey's Earthquake Hazard Mapping Project, in the past 5 years, the USGS has documented high shaking and damage in areas of these six states, mostly from induced earthquakes. So, what is the main idea of the passage? Well, it's written here. The main idea is an increase in oil and gas drilling has caused a corresponding increase in earthquakes in six states. How did we determine this main idea? The details given here prove this. Look at this. An increase in oil and gas drilling in these states has led to human induced earthquakes. Well, the build-up of pressure caused fault lines to shift. Well, and one of the best proof is an authentic proof reference here that this person has said this. According to this person, in the past 5 years, this department has documented high shaking and damage in these areas, in these six states, mostly from induced earthquakes. So this is a proof. This detail is a proof, and it proves the main idea of the passage that an increase in oil and gas drilling has caused a corresponding increase in earthquakes in six states. So, this is how we determine the main idea of any text. Hello, everyone, those who have joined us. Hi. Yes, I'm new. I'm a new tutor. Not a new tutor, but new to these live classes. So, welcome. I to welcome all the new participants. Okay, let's read one more passage. The Pony Express. In the gold rush of 1849, some 100,000 immigrants were lured to California by the promise of gold. Interesting. Towns and businesses popped up to accommodate the growing population. But a problem remained: how to communicate across the vast reaches of the United States. Three businessmen thought they had an answer: faster mail delivery via the Pony Express, a relay system of horses and riders. The Pony Express made its first delivery on April 14, 1860. Mail from St. Joseph, Missouri reached San Francisco in just 11 days rather than a month or more, which was standard for mail delivery at the time. The Pony Express was a short lived solution, however. After just 18 months, it was replaced by a national telegraph wire. Now, what is the main idea of the passage? Well, it's not just you. Jada is not available today. I'm a new tutor. I'm a new tutor for live classes. So let's just get back to the lesson. So, what is the main idea of the passage? Those who have listened to me, the Pony Express allowed for faster communication in the rapidly growing United States. Well, how do we know that it was rapidly growing United States? Well, the answer is here, that in the gold rush of 1849, 100,000 immigrants were lured to California, and towns and businesses popped up to accommodate the growing population. So, tells us, this proves that it is the rapidly growing United States. And the Pony Express allowed for faster communication. How do we know this? Because the Pony Express delivered its first mail in just 11 days. Where is it mentioned? It is mentioned here that it reached San Francisco in just 11 days rather than a month or more, which was standard for mail delivery at the time. So, the details in the text prove this main idea, that it allowed for faster communication, the Pony Express, in the rapidly growing United States. So, yes, the first option. Well, we don't have options here, we have main idea. So, using this main idea, I'll try to prove how this main idea suits to this text. I mean, how do we find all the details which prove and illustrate this main idea? Okay, let's read passage number 3. With your plane. Well, interesting topic. Have you ever thought about it? As Shane Loeffler, a geology student at the University of Minnesota, was flying home from Europe, he looked down at the landscape and began to wonder what he was flying over. He realized that a plane flight would be a good opportunity for people, excuse me, for people to learn about the geological features of the earth below them. As a result of this experience, with a grant from the National Science Foundation, he created a free app called Flyover Country. The app provides users with information on natural formations, man made features like dams, and even where fossils can be found. The features are pinpointed on a map that corresponds to the landscape below the plane. Now, what's beneath your plane? Well, what is the main idea of the passage? Shane Loeffler's experience in a plane led him to create an app that would provide information to flyers about the land below them. Well, how do we know that this main idea is correct? This is the main idea of the passage, because the passage or the details mentioned in the passage prove it, support this main idea, right? Well, because we know that he was flying home from Europe, he was in a plane, and when he was flying over, he came up with this idea and he created an app that would provide information to flyers about the land below them. So, yes, this passage, its main idea is this because the details in the passage prove it. I hope you understand. Now, the next one is the first newspaper war. Wow, another interesting one. How can we, I mean, how can we have wars on newspapers? The first newspaper war, let's find out. What is it? The Crimean War was fought in the 1950s between Russia on one side and Britain, France, and Turkey on the other. Although it was a major conflict, it is perhaps best remembered as the first war in which journalists were present on the battlefield. News dispatches from William Howard Russell, a reporter for the Times of London, exposed military blunders and revealed the filthy conditions that existed in military hospitals and camps. Hmm. Photographers such as James Robertson and Roger Fenton made hundreds of photographs of soldiers on the battlefield. These news reports and photographs provided an uncensored look at life on the front lines. Well, these are the gory details of war. The Crimean War marked the first time in history that people back home were exposed to the horrors of war. Now, what is the main idea of the passage? The Crimean War was fought between the Russians and the British, French, and Turkish. Is it the main idea? Let's find out. I don't think so. Well, why did I not think so? Because it was about the 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 journalists who participated in the war and how they actively jumped into the battlefield to get photographs and to get the details. So the main idea should be about this. Okay, so the next one, saving sea turtles. Small scale fishing performed with nets is one of the most common fishing methods used around the world. One of the unfortunate side effects of this method is that sea turtles, which are considered threatened, get caught in the nets along with the fish. It's sad to hear. Conservation biologists at the University of Exeter in England recently devised a way to prevent these sea turtle deaths, which they tested at a fishery in northern Peru. They found that attaching green LED lights to the nets warned the turtles away, possibly because the lights made the nets more visible. The number of sea turtle deaths was reduced, but the number of fish caught seemed to remain the same. Quite interesting, and it's a very feasible way and a very, uh, you know, uh, creative idea. What is the main idea of the passage? Conservation biologists are researching ways to save the threatened sea turtle population. Yes, they found, and they might still be searching to stand or not to stand. In 2016, Vallecto Elementary School in San Rafael, California, became the first US school to replace all of its ordinary desks with raised desks that students stand at. Speaking to a reporter from Time for Kids magazine, one student at the school gave the standing desks high praise. You feel happier, you are less tired, and you are more active, she said. According to several studies, children working at standing desks burn more calories and are more focused on tasks. However, some teachers and parents are opposed to the change. They are concerned that standing for long periods of time could cause fatigue, strain on the legs and feet, or posture problems. In addition, standing desks are more expensive than seated desks. Only time will tell whether standing desks will prove to be the next big trend or a failed experiment. Now, what is the main idea of the passage? Some people say that standing desks promote good study habits, but others are worried about the new desks. Yes, because it proves that the text details prove that some people find these standing desks interesting and they find them productive for the kids, but other peoples are worried about the new details and they are they don't have good perspectives about it. So yes, this is the main idea. Supporting biliteracy. There are many good reasons to learn a second language, a very important topic. A second language can improve your understanding of your native language, open the door to new job opportunities, help you learn about other cultures. Yet, American students are less likely than European students to study foreign languages in school. So, to address this gap, several states have begun doing more to encourage biliteracy, the ability to read and write in two languages. California, New York, and Illinois are among the states that have passed laws establishing a state seal of biliteracy. A seal of biliteracy shows that a student has achieved proficiency in a second language. Supporters of the seals say that they honor the importance of second language learning. The seals also provide colleges and future employers with evidence of students' abilities. Well, what is the main idea? Fewer American students than European students learn a second language, so some states are promoting the study of foreign languages. Yes, the details in this passage prove it, support this idea that in American, fewer American students learn second language, and some states are promoting and they're trying, they're making the students study foreign languages. So yes, it is. Well, students, I hope you understand how to determine the main idea of any text. It's time to begin the second lesson. Identify text structures. Well, a very important one. Well, how do we identify text structures? Because authors do not write same text. They write different text structures. Authors use different text structures to organize their ideas in writing. Like if they use same style, same structures, the readers will they will get bored of their writings. And I mean, there are multiple ways to convey your ideas, and there are multiple text structures to organize your ideas in writing. So, learning to identify these structures will help you understand the relationships between ideas in informational text, specifically informational text, the text which provide us some information. So when you learn to identify these structures, you understand the relationships between ideas in informational text. You can also use these structures to organize your own writing. Like they can help you write in a better way, they can help you organize your essays or research papers or whatever you are writing. What are the different text structures to organize your ideas in writing? Cause effect structure is one of them. Second one, compare contrast structure. The third, problem solution structure. Obviously, in this one, a problem will be presented and then a solution or solutions will be mentioned. Then sequential structure. It is associated with sequencing and ordering in a sequence. So let's begin the first. Let's learn about the first cause effect structure. The cause effect structure presents the causes and the effects of a particular event, trend, or situation. Well, for the first, causes are mentioned and then effects are also given. This structure often uses words and phrases such as because, since, as a result, due to, or consequently. Why these words are used? Because these all words are related to cause effect structure. Like if something is a cause, I came back to my home because it started raining. Why did I use the word because here? Because of some cause, something happened. Since it started raining, I came back to my home. So you see these words, if you read these words in a text, it means that text structure is cause effect structure. Okay, these are the hints. These words, if these words are used, it means cause effect structure is used. The second one is compare contrast structure. What is this one? It presents similarities, means comparison. And comparison is made between two things. It means similarities are discussed. Similarities between those two things. And differences means contrast between two or more things. This structure often uses words or phrases such as like, similarly. Similarities are mentioned. So the word similarly, like, or in the same way. These words are used for comparing, means to show, to present similarities. And on the other hand, the words like on the other hand, in contrast, or unlike. These words are used to present differences, means to contrast, to present contrast. So remember these words, they will help you when you will be reading text and will be figuring out which text structure is presented in this text. So these words will help us. The third one is problem solution structure. It presents a problem and suggests one or more possible solutions. As I told you earlier, a problem is presented and then possible solutions are suggested in the same text. This structure often uses words such as issue, question, puzzle, propose, and answer. So if you come across these words in some text, to- you can you can uh, figure out, you can determine that this text has this kind of structure, problem solution structure. I hope is not it is not boring for you, because this explanation requires some time. The fourth one, a sequential structure. A sequential structure describes a series of events that happens in a certain order. The word sequential means it presents a sequence. Sequence means series of events in a certain order. So this kind of structure describes a series of events that happens in a certain order. This structure often uses specific dates and times, or words such as first, next, during, Finally, and while these are common words. I mean, if something is presented in a series of events, these words are quite common. So these are four text structures to organize your writing, your ideas in writing. So let's begin the test and determine or identify the text structure. We have a text. Let's read it. You may have heard that eating an apple a day keeps the doctor away. It's a famous saying. Perhaps that's not strictly true, but it is correct that including fruit in your diet can result in better overall health. Because it is so full of vitamins and nutrients, eating plenty of fruit can help reduce the risk of heart attacks, strokes, and even some types of cancer. Many fruits, including bananas and melons, are also particularly rich in potassium, which may be helpful in lowering blood pressure. Additionally, the fiber in fruit can help combat type 2 diabetes and obesity. Now, which organizational structure does this text primarily use? Well, it uses compare and contrast. What do you say? Does it show similarities and contrasts? I'm leaving it up to you. I'm waiting for the answers. Okay, so a text from history. King Henry VIII of England had a desperate concern. He lacked male heirs. His wife, Catherine, had borne six children, but only their daughter Mary survived. Doctors said Catherine could not have more children, and Henry wanted to find a new wife who could give him a son. However, under the rules of the Catholic Church, Henry couldn't divorce Catherine. Henry asked the Pope to annul or declare invalid their marriages so that he could remarry, but the Pope refused. So the king came up with a creative way out. He formed his own church, the Church of England, and the 1534 Act of Supremacy declared Henry the head of this new church. The Archbishop of Canterbury, whom Henry appointed, annulled the royal marriage and freed Henry to wed a new queen, Anne Boleyn. Now, which organizational structure does this text primarily use? Well, it's quite obvious here that there was a problem. King Henry VIII came up with he had this problem. He wanted to remarry, but he had no solution. But he came up with a very creative solution. So, what was that solution? That he created a church of his own. He formed a church of his own. So, which organizational structure does this text use? It uses problem solution structure, right? Okay. Now, people have different learning styles, and it can be helpful to understand your own. Well, a relatable topic for us, for all of us. Well, if you want to learn and understand what is your learning style, let's find out. For example, if you are a visual learner who acquires knowledge most easily by reading or seeing, the best study methods for you may be using flashcards, writing things down, or color coding information to remember it more easily. On the other hand, if you are an auditory learner, You tend to learn best by hearing and listening. Well, who are you? An auditory learner or a visual learner? So, if you are an auditory learner, you tend to learn best by hearing and listening. If that's the case, you may study more effectively by reading new materials aloud or having someone else read stories, directions, assignments, or questions to you. Well, I hope I'm not a I'm a visual learner. What do you guys think? Okay, so well, we have just one option. It says it's the organizational structure is sequential. Well, words like first, next, they are not used, so it's not sequential structure. One other hint is here. On the other hand, can it click something? Compare and contrast. When you compare and contrast, see, on the other hand, so there were four structures: cause effect, compare contrast, sequential, and what was the fourth one? Who remembers? Can anybody tell? Let's learn. Well, this one, the text is a compare contrast structure because to show how different styles of learners acquire different knowledge differently. So I told you it's not sequential, it's compare and contrast. But we have just one option here right now. There may be something wrong here, but it's okay. We know the exact one. Okay, let's read the new text. Ancient Egypt's history was thousands of years long and involved three major kingdoms with intermediate periods of disorganization in the intervening years. The Old Kingdom ruled Egypt from 2686 to 2181 BC. During this time, powerful pharaohs completed great pyramids. The kingdom collapsed into chaos and was followed by the First Intermediate Period. In 2055 BC, the Middle Kingdom arose. It collapsed in 1786 BC, the beginning of the Second Intermediate Period. The New Kingdom, which included King Tutankhamun's short rule, ran from 1567 to 1085 BC. Egypt never returned to its former glory, and Alexander the Great of Macedonia conquered it in 332 BC. Well, it's really easy to guess. Which organizational structure does this text primarily use? Sequential. Because it mentions the dates. First this one, then this one, then this one. It presents the dates in a sequence, in a certain sequence. So the last one is this one. So it's a sequential structure. Well, there There are several ways to start matches or a ladder. Well, I really want to know about this one. I don't know about it. One method utilizes a wooden board and a 2 foot long stick. First, cut a V shaped notch on the edge of the board so that the wider part of the V is on the outside edge. Then, beside the center point of this V, make a small dent or hole with a sharp rock. Next, Place the board on the ground and the end of the stick in the indentation, holding the stick between the palms of your hands. Finally, roll the stick quickly between your palms while pressing it down. Do this until the friction heats the wood enough so that an ember glows at the end of the stick. This ember can now light a fire. Well, again, let me tell you the words in the text will help us figure out first, then, next, finally. Can you recall what are these hints for? Well, these hints tell us that it is a sequential structure because these words are used specifically when it is a sequential structure. Well, it's okay. We are going to end soon. Don't you worry. Just a couple of minutes are left. So let's focus on the last few texts. So, yes, it's a sequential structure. This is the last text for today, for the time being. The Centers for Disease Control examines published research in order to address the question of how to reduce injuries and deaths in traffic collisions. Based on the research findings, the CDC has concluded that the most effective way to improve safety is to increase seat belt use. The CDC recommends that states more strictly enforce laws that make seat belts a requirement. According to the CDC, these laws are highly effective in increasing seatbelt use and saving lives. Now, what is the organizational structure which is used in this text? Well, a problem. A problem is mentioned. What is the problem? Injuries and deaths in traffic collisions. Yes, problem solution because problem injuries and deaths in traffic collisions. Now, the CDC came up with a solution that states should strictly enforce laws that make seat belts a requirement. So, this is the best way to reduce injuries and deaths in traffic collisions. So, this is the organizational structure, problem solving organizational structure. I hope you understand, and we have some more question if you want to solve and learn more about it. If you want to learn more about text structures, if you want to identify them, you can go to grade 8. You can open the chapter planning and organizing writing, and this is lesson number 2, identify text structures. So this is all for today. I hope you understand it, and we'll see you next week. Good luck.